Please welcome Christina.
Yeah. So when I thought about what I can bring to the table here, I was thinking, I work for a bank and this is boring. I say, yeah, but the last 2 years, my work at the bank wasn't boring, so maybe I have a topic for that. So what I want to tell you today is, at a bank we have a lot of regulatory projects, and I want to talk about how using the BDD techniques like a discovery to make it more fun. So we have all the time two types of project: business project and regulatory project, compliance project, technical must-have projects. What I was wondering about was, why are people always excited when they can work on business projects? They say, woo, I can do something new. And at the same time, they're very sad when they have to work on regulatory projects. But it's the same software. So I started to think a little bit about the image of these projects behind. And we have on the first hand the business projects. And normally all the people in this project team say, yeah, we are so excited because we can start from scratch. Everything is new. We will develop a crazy new app or whatever. But most of the time this is not true. When you have to develop new software, you have always boundaries. You have a back-end system that is not flexible enough. So this starting from scratch is always illusional. But there's still a good image for these business projects. The next thing, when you start a business project, you never think about the budget constraints you will have. But to be honest, I've never met a CEO who says, oh, your idea is fantastic and today is the day of the open wallet, take whatever you need. This never happens. The third thing, when you start a business project, you always think, oh, we will be like Apple. We will be like Facebook, Google, whatever. We will invent the wheel totally new. But in a second step, you think, oh, maybe I'm not so inventive. Maybe my competitor already has it. Maybe I'm the second mover. But you still have the image of having a cool business project. And the last thing, we always say, also when we are at a bank, I do it all for the customer. The customer. I bring in new apps, I bring in new websites. But in fact, it's all about making money. So, what is different to regulatory projects? Why do the business projects have such a good image and the regulatory projects have a bad image? First of all, there's always regulatory projects have given requirements. Yeah, because they come from the European Union, European Commission. They have very nice names. Put something down here. For example, MiFID, Markets in Financial Instruments Directive, PSD2, Payment Service Directive, GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. This doesn't sound very sexy. But we have to do it, and in every bank, nearly 40 to 60% of our change budget in every year has to be in the must-have projects. And the technical must-have projects are on top of that. So coming back to the given requirements, that is what we are thinking, because there is some regulation and you have to do it. But in fact, this is not quite true. I have some data about this. Yeah, for example, the MiFID requirements. In the beginning, it was only 80 pages. And 2 years after that, it was blown up to 5,000 pages. And often, these regulatory projects, they said, we can't do it in an agile way because they are given requirements. And Seeing this, in the beginning it was 80 pages and then it was 5,000 pages, you see this is also not true. You absolutely can do it in a more agile, lean, whatever context, because the requirements are not given. So the second thing, maybe in a regulatory or a must-have project, also in a technical must-have project, you don't have these strong budget constraints because you have to do it, you don't have a chance. But you always have time constraints. The next thing is, okay, and this is maybe true, they are boring. You can't invent something crazy new. Yeah, but maybe you find in these 80 to 5,000 pages, when you dig deeper, you find the not so boring, crazy stuff you can bring to the customer. And this is the last point. We always ask ourselves, where in a regulatory compliance technical must-have project is the customer? It's not customer-centric, and that is what we want to do. No, we always forget, because it's a regulatory project, it comes from somebody else. We have to do it. We forget the customer about it, but why should we do it when we do it not for the customer? We are all customers of a bank, and of course we want to have fraud protection, security, whatever. So in fact, also the regulatory projects are for the customer. So the project I've been working on, I'm the product owner of this project, and I'm also a business analyst, so I'm writing Gherkin. This was our last relaunch. We got the rollout, I guess, 3 weeks ago. And the goal was to make the next relaunch of our website. We have 2 old systems, it's called Euroweb and Eurovision. We've been very creative about that. And these are monoliths. And so the job was to build the new website on a complete new technical basis. So it was not a business-driven relaunch, it was a pure IT project. And this was the boring part. We couldn't change the layout. Yeah. Because in the former relaunches, most of the fun came from discussing new layout topics with the agency or whatever. And now it was a pure IT project. No new designs. And because the job was to move just the website from the old framework to the new framework, I, especially as a product owner and business analyst, had to deal with a lot of old requirements. The Euroweb, the really, really, really old website, is in parts 10 years old. And you don't find these requirements anymore. Nowhere in the company, nobody knows anything about it. And it was also a nearshoring project for bank software with developers who have never worked for a bank before. So this didn't sound very exciting at the moment, but as I said in the beginning, we had a lot of fun. And for me, preparing this speech was also a little bit of a reflection and a retrospective. What did we do? And I found out we did a lot of discovery. Sepp told us a lot about it. And the first discovery we did was in the architecture. And so I thought a little bit about what did we do right, what maybe other projects could do better. And the first thing was we had the opportunity to bring the best people together in one group, and they also got time to discuss, because it was about architecture, it was the architects, software architects, enterprise architects, whatever. And it was a core team, fully dedicated to this website project, and they got time. And I see it a lot of times in our company that when these regulatory must-have projects start, you bring everyone at the table, because these regulatory projects are always for every department. They are not focused on one department. Everybody has to work on them because they are global. And so maybe sometimes 20, 30 people are sitting in one room discussing. This is not useful. So we did it the other way around. We brought the core team together, the experts, and they discussed. The next thing I found out, what was very helpful, was our focus on outcome, not output. I will explain this a little bit. Outcome is really the goal of your project. Really your vision. What do you want to reach? And the output is how many lines of code do you have? How many stories? How many pages of the old website have you moved to the new framework? This was the question I always got from the management, and I was very angry about this. No, this is not the point. It's about the outcome, what we want to reach. Our goal is a modularized website and not to have this monolithic old stuff you can't deploy after every sprint or whatever. And just moving pages, this comes afterward. Every team can do that. So don't ask me about the output of every sprint or whatever. Ask me, how many steps do we have to take to reach the outcome? And the next thing, what we had to learn, and this was not always fun, there to be iterative. Yeah, we all want to work in an agile way, one iteration after the other. But when you really find out that you have to throw something away, that is very hard. But you have to do it. There's no way around it. The second discovery we had, and this is here more related to the BDD. First time in the company we worked with Gherkin, with the BDD approach. And why we did this? Yeah, to find a common language, like always. Common language between the developers and the testers and the business analysts. Also a common language between all the different development teams. And for me, very important also to find a common language with my nearshoring team. As I said before, they've never, ever worked before on a banking website. And, you know, banking website, complicated stuff, and also in German, nice words like Verlustverrechnungstöpfe, crazy sexy. But with this Gherkin, it was easy to explain all this regulatory stuff to the developers. And as I said before, I was confronted with a lot of old requirements or not documented stuff, stuff that was documented but re-engineered. And this BDD approach helped also the team to do this reverse engineering. You have to do quite often in a technical must-have project. So, what we want to reach, we are not yet there, but we are going there. I'm always dreaming about a living documentation for the whole website, for the whole company. Yeah, one day I will get this. Because in a regulatory compliance technical must-have project, what is absolutely sure is that you will have to do it again. It's not like when you're developing a new tool for the website or an app. You start, you do it, and then you are finished. And maybe someday somebody else will do it again. But in a regulatory project, it's clear that the next regulation will come. In a technical project, I'm doing now websites for 18 years. Yeah, the next relaunch will come. It's clear. So I'm dreaming about a living documentation to be prepared for the next change. And what is also very important and very helpful for a regulatory project when you follow the BDD approach, that the testing gets so much more easy. Because when you don't test and you have failures in a regulatory project, this will lead to fines, legal action, security issues, or a damage of your company reputation. And this is something nobody wants to have. So, as a summary, I can say to all my colleagues, because I will also help this speech absolutely at our company, so don't get sad when you have to work on such a boring project, a regulatory or compliance, a technical must-have project. They can be fun. When you collaborate, you explore, and you can be proud of that, what you are doing, because when you're thinking about fraud protection or security, that what you are doing in a regulatory must-have project is sometimes more important than the next crazy app everybody's talking about. Thank you.